In case you can't tell by the name, Yikes Murder and Stuff contains themes that are not suited for children. It's also no good for the workplace and probably not your Mima and your Papa either. We're going to talk about some grim subject matter, probably make uncomfortable jokes, and we're definitely going to be cursing. But if that's something you're into, then put your headphones on and hop in our nondescript windowless van and come see the puppies. Hello. Welcome back to Yikes Murder and Stuff. This is part 2 of The Raft of the Medusa. I'm Jennifer Sandwich.
I'm Mel's.
And I'm Acadia Einstein. I have a last name unlike Mel's.
That's okay. She's like Drake now.
I'll tell you what, it's Miss Bells to you, Acadia. All right.
When we last left off, they were about to run aground, I believe.
No, we're not going to run aground because I am an expert ship driver.
We're totally gonna run aground.
Quiet. I can see over there. See that land? That's where we need to go.
Oh, that's actually a cloud. Instant, give us our soundings. What are we at?
100 feet, 50 feet, 25 feet.
That's pretty fast.
Yeah. Captain, we're gonna run aground. We have to go back out to sea.
No. You see, the water gets more shallow as you near the land. So obviously, I told you we were going to the land.
No, boom.
5 feet. Yeah.
Oh, and here we are.
Perfect.
We are now in the sand. Oh my god. So now this massive frigate is now in the sand. Very, very much run aground on the sandbar off the coast of West Africa, which is basically the desert. That's okay. It's okay. Everything's cool because all they really have to do at this point is just lighten the ship. The tide will come up and the ship can sail away and go into deeper water and everything's good.
That's too simple.
By the way, when we hit the sandbar, I said very proudly, "We're here."
Everybody out of the pool. Okay, so we're gonna lighten up the ship a little bit. I got an idea. Let's throw off some cannons.
Hey. First of all, who woke me up from my whore bath that I was taking underneath the ship? And what do you want to what now?
We're gonna throw some cannons off to lighten up the ship.
You will not. You can throw off Fat Jacques instead. These cannons are worth a lot of money. Plus, we need to get them to Senegal to shoot them at I don't know, trees.
However, we gotta have the king's cannons. It's very important. So that's not gonna work out. Okay, let's throw over some flour barrels because they have a shit ton of flour barrels apparently because Senegal is lacking in flour. Governor Schmaltz does not want to do that either. It's just like, I'm not getting rid of all this flour we brought. This is stupid. This is the king's flour. They decide to throw away some masts on the ship. They decide to throw away some water, some other provisions that they need, and wine and shit. But they're going to keep all the flour and all the cannons. So, has anybody seen the movie The Perfect Storm? Right, where
Yes.
there's like 3 big storms that come in all at once, and George Clooney dies. Well, this is the
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler,
Right.
jeez.
Wow.
Okay.
Spoiler.
This is the perfect storm of the 3 stooges of the sea, Governor Schmaltz, Deschambre, and Ricafort. These guys get together, and it's a terrible situation, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the seas or the ship or the maps or anything. It's these 3 dudes. They get free like momentarily after throwing water and shit overboard. Then they almost immediately run aground again. So they didn't lighten it enough. It didn't work out. And actually, after the first grounding, all the sailors were like chasing Ricafort all around the ship and saying they were going to throw him overboard. And that didn't happen. But basically, after they ran aground, everybody stayed on the ship for like 3 days because the captain wasn't captaining. He was just like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to go back downstairs and take a nap and let me fuck my mistress on it.
Listen, I've been doing a lot. Number one, I've been lightening my load into these holes. And I've also been eating as much as I can and taking a lot of dumps off the side of the ship.
Well, he's lightening the load. He's lightening
That's
the load.
right. I'm trying to help.
He's doing his part, right?
I also made the fattest passengers run back and forth on the deck.
Which everybody was doing anyways because the whole ship's in a fucking panic at the time, but they're not getting anything done, which is super frustrating to some of the people that had experience, like the guys who had sailed with Napoleon. But, you know, the monarchy guys, they don't like these dudes. So they're not even going to listen to them. So while it's sitting in the sand, is nuzzling in forever, basically, and they are arguing and they're drinking and they're fighting, and Deschamps just kind of hanging out below deck with his mistress and drinking wine, just like, well, I don't know what to do. So they fucked around so much that on the third day, a storm's coming in, like a rudder breaks loose on the ship. And now everybody's really panicking. And so the captain's just like, everybody off the ship. We're going to abandon ship right now.
Jump ship.
Right. There are only 6 lifeboats. So he's like, okay, I know he could have ferried people from the lifeboats like on the first day and just gotten them to land and come back and gotten more people and come back again and gotten provisions. He had plenty of time for this. He did not do this. They didn't do anything for 3 days until the storm came and broke the rudder off. Now they have to abandon ship.
The fucking tide to come in.
Right, a bigger tide will come tomorrow, or maybe in 3 days.
Look,
but he's like,
obviously, if this was a very dangerous sandbar, there would be a bunch of more ships already on it, and then we would have heard. So therefore, this can't be very serious, and eventually we'll just get pushed off of it.
Well, he's an idiot. So he's like, okay, everybody build a raft. We're gonna make this raft, and for everybody who can't fit on these 6 lifeboats, after we get the governor on and his 3 people and me and my 4 people and all of our luggage, everybody else could go on the other smaller, shittier rafts, and we'll build this, 65-foot, 23-foot wide raft. There's a picture of it in the show notes. You've got to see this thing. It's ridiculous.
Okay, so let's talk this through for just a minute. We've got the governor, right? And his party of 3.
Let's see here. It is let me scroll down a little bit here. So the governor, he's in a 27.5-foot boat. Okay, well, right, that's the best one.
And there's 3 in his party or 4?
There's actually 38 people in his boat.
Oh, okay. Because here I am.
I was exaggerating.
Okay, because here I am thinking, wait a minute. I just did some mental Mel's math here. And it might not be the best, but I'm thinking you got like 10 folks. You got some barrels of wine. You got this huge ass ship. And of course, the luggage. I'm thinking perhaps Louis Vuitton luggage. Right. We must save that.
Yes.
It's of Titanic proportions here. I was imagining to myself, like, just do not let my Louis Vuitton luggage get ruined, okay? And we'll come back for the rest of you later. Okay, toodles.
So, and this is what happened. Like, so the governor puts himself and 30 other people into his boat, which could hold 70. The captain does a similar thing. The next best boat is a larger boat also, and they do a similar thing. And basically, they bring his chair. They bring the governor's chair in the raft. As a matter of fact, he doesn't even get in the raft. They lower him down into the raft with sitting in his chair. So it's just ridiculous. And they say, okay, we're not going to put any provisions on this raft. We're going to put people on it. And of course, everybody's flipping out. They're just like, what are you talking about? These are like normal people. They're butchers and bakers and armorers and helmsmen and people over with the fucking philanthropic society and just a grab bag of goddamn prisoner mercenaries who are also on board, who were being hired to go to Senegal and work as military people to defend the place. They're on here too. What they didn't have was water and food. So they did not provision the raft very well, because once 147 people get on that raft, it sinks down. It finds buoyancy about 3 feet under the water.
Oh,
I'm
nah.
going to have to tell you, this is an extremely full raft, and you may be asked to check one of your carry-ons at the gate.
Yes. That's
If it will fit under the seat in front of you, please use that space 4.
Check your luggage. If you need a tag, come see your stewardess at the front. Yes.
it's we'll just throw it into the ocean. It'll get
you're
there.
Right. There's no gate check. It's just, no, this is ocean check. Just put your name on it.
Yeah,
It'll be
don't
okay.
worry, it'll get there sometime. It'll drift in. They're like, okay, we're gonna tie this raft to all of these boats. They tie the boats together, and then they tie the raft to the tow ropes that all the boats are tied together. Obviously, this is not going to work out because this raft is flat. It doesn't have a stern or anything or a bow or a rudder or a sail, or they don't even have oars. They have nothing. As a matter of fact, one of the lifeboats is a sailboat and doesn't have any oars, and they had put 80 motherfuckers on this raft because this guy, his name's Lieutenant Espiau. Am I saying that right?
No one cares.
We'll go with it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's right. So somebody, this nice guy, he ends up trying to take more people on his boat than he can, and it's super damaged because the boats are clanking against each other because they're all together with the tow ropes trying to tow this raft, and he's got 80 people in his boat, and he should probably only had maybe 40. So his is way just right above the water line. While here's the governor and the captain and
their chairs.
Yeah, the highest leadership have the best, and their chairs and their luggage and their mistress and their wine and water and food. None of this is on the raft. None of this is even on the other lifeboats.
Wow. So I'm just imagining they had no calming sailing.
No.
Take me away. They had none of that going through their mind during this sailboat experience.
Christopher Cross was not a member of the crew.
This is the inspiration for that song.
This is obviously not a good plan. So when two of the lifeboats almost run into each other, they had to let go of the tow rope so that they could get untangled from each other. So now the raft is only tied together with the captain's barge.
No.
He's like, "Oh, this is no good. We're gonna have to. You guys are just—it's like dragging an anchor. You're dragging 147 people on the back of a 24-foot barge. It's not gonna work out. So, guess what happens?"
Let's see. Something bad.
Yeah, tell us, Acadia. What's the captain do?
Well, let me see. What are my choices? I could continue to try to tow this big-ass raft.
Uh-huh.
Hey, raft! How about instead we leave it like it is, but you guys all paddle and you push us boats with the ropes? You lazy shit.
Yes. There are a couple of different scenarios here. People thought that maybe he chopped the rope and just cut him loose. And some people just say, no, they just untied it. Whatever.
Oh, he definitely chopped it.
No, because the one thing I did bring on the boat was a fucking knife. So, you know what's slowing us down? These heavy, heavy ropes. And if we cut them off from our side, then we're giving the raft people a thing to catch fish with. So really, we're helping them.
Yes.
Or those rogue dolphins may return and take them off, lead them off by rope.
Perhaps in exchange for a quick hand job, the dolphins will help them.
Oh my!
They're now floating in the sea by themselves. They have watched the captain of their ship untie the tow rope, and they're all like, "Viva la France! You guys are coming back for us, right?" They're just super in shock. They're like, yeah, we're cool. We're all French here, right? We're all buddies. We'll see you soon, right?
Hey, come on now, guys. Remember, vive la France. I'm sitting on a hard spot on the raft.
Yeah, this is...
My bum is going numb. My bum is going numb.
Oh, they're watching the boats get smaller and smaller here. And now, these guys are 3 feet into the water. Nobody's sitting down ever for the rest of this trip. So for the first morning, the raft's abandoned. They're gone. They're watching the boats sail away into the distance. 17 dudes stayed on board the Medusa, by the way.
Like, we'll be fine. Remember, we're on the land. The whole problem in the first place was, oh no, the boat's on the land, so we'll just stay here.
On the fluffy land. We're on the fluffy land.
They were totally good. The boat didn't break up. Everything was fine. They hung out there because the raft was so dangerous. They're like, we'll take our chances here. We're good. Y'all go on without us. And they had bacon and water and everything. They were fine for a while.
For a while. By the way, hey,
for a while.
Can you eat a compass?
Yeah. Well, honestly, the people who were left on the Medusa had the bulk of the provisions. They had like actual like bacon and shit.
I can hear, there's one negative Nancy on Medusa still that is saying, bacon again. We have anything else besides bacon?
There's no way to steer this thing. There's no sails. They're trying to do everything that they can. They build a mast and try to use a hammock as a sail. It's just a mess. But then the seas start to get kind of rough.
This is a shitty sail. It's full of holes.
I was
Gilligan's Island hammock. It's terrible.
Okay. I was fixing to say, I believe hammocks are Arcadia's forte. So.
That's right.
Yeah, he knows all about them.
It's my time to shine.
Has anyone ever taken like a fishing boat, like a 14-foot fishing boat out onto like a Great Lake or into the like ocean anywhere? It is ridiculous. I've taken I used to have a little fishing boat that I would take out to Mille Lacs, which is a huge lake, kind of a shallow lake, but it's monstrous. It's huge in Minnesota. And I just remember thinking, as soon as I got out of that bay, I'm like, this is terrible. We are going to die. And this was not in great weather, but it was still, I'm going to catch a fish that day. I turned right back around and I was like, fuck those fish. They're good. I'm going to let them. I went back to my campsite. Those 2 and 3 foot waves over that 14-foot lunker with the power motor on the back was too scary for me. I cannot imagine them being in the middle of the fucking ocean on a raft where you're like dipped down 3 feet in the water. I can't imagine being on the governor's boat that's 27 foot long because it's still a boat that's meant for a last ditch effort. Like the last thing you want to do is get on any of these boats in the middle of the African Sea. There was a lot of panic getting on this raft. I mean, people were very emotional. These are people who they're not prepared for any of this at all. They don't have any kind of equipment to deal with this. They have no idea where they're at. They can't see the Medusa anymore, so there's no swimming back to that.
Well, of course there's no equipment. The equipment they had was behind them, meaning the big boat, or in front of them, meaning the other boats that were still boats. They're basically, you know what we'll do? We'll play Titanic, but big. So you 100 so fuckers are rows, and the raft is the door. Ridiculous.
During the panic of the morning, they had realized that they hadn't brought any like food or water on with them. They had like 6 casks of wine and like 2 things of water.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Dehydration station right there.
Give me some water out of those barrels.
I mean, if only
Jesus, why?
That's exactly what I was going to say.
These are French people. That's what they do. They don't even drink water. They drink wine, right? I mean, that's...
No,
but it's the 1800s.
What's in this bag? Granola bars? No, cassette tapes. We thought that it might be fun to have some music on the ride.
Okay, now what cassette tapes do you think were in there?
Christopher Cross.
I know that's for sure. We know that's for sure.
Frère Jacques.
Frère Jacques.
Exactly.
they didn't have like any kind of real compass, but one of the fellows on board's an engineer, and he's kind of like, he went on the raft because all of his men were on there, and they were going to do some engineering on Senegal and do some building of things and geography, and I don't know what else they were doing, but they had this group of guys
oppressing the people that already live there. That's big on our list. Making them
that's
into
at the top of the
slaves.
list. That's at the top of the list.
You know what we need to do? We need to build some buildings that will make us seem more important than the people that we're destroying. So get on that.
He told this guy, he says, does anybody have a compass? And this dude's like, oh, fuck, I do. I have one. And it's like as big as like a coin. And so they're passing it.
Cracker Jacks. Just like in the movie 1941.
It's like the same thing. They're passing it from man to man. Of course, the raft is going everywhere. They fucking drop it. They drop it. It goes between the timbers down into the ocean. It's gone forever.
Of course it does.
Yeah. So, I mean, what else could possibly go wrong? So much more.
But wait a minute. To be fair, I mean, this was olden times. So even an asshole like me can figure out which direction is which, like when the sun goes down, because I'm pretty sure it's west. You know what I mean? Like what?
And you know what? What does it matter anyways? Because they have no sail that.
Right. They could have. Everybody lean. Oh, that was a terrible idea. Now we tipped over our own raft. My cassettes.
There are some points where they're on this raft where they're like commanding people to like move from one side or the other so the thing doesn't tip over.
Oh my.
They don't have an anchor. And I never thought of this before, but if you have an anchor, let's say you're kind of drifting into the kind of inland, you can put an anchor down and you won't drift back out to sea.
Well, yeah,
and then the next time that that the tide's coming in, you pull up the anchor, and they don't even have that. And also, they have no idea how deep they are either.
Well, they did when they were on the fucking sandbar. The dumb Frenchmen.
They did. Yep, they were about 14 feet. They'd have to be because that's how far down below the water the Medusa went. So they knew that they would at least be 14 feet.
If they had stuck over there, they could have dropped the compass, and then somebody could have gone down and get it.
Right.
They would have still been able to see it.
Not me, because I can't open my eyes underwater. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, and here's the thing too, because when you get to shallower water like that, it's not crystal clear blue. Not in 90% of the time.
I'm sure in 18 whatever it was, except for the captain shitting off the side of the boat. Like,
oh god, a new meaning to the term muddy waters.
Yeah, that's right.
Heyo. So my experience with a sandbar is this. I grew up a very small town in Georgia, but we did have a lake, and on the nice days we go out on a boat into the lake, but there was a sandbar, and it was a party bar,
right.
So like you'd take your boat there and then you'd hang out on the sandbar.
Sarasota, same thing, man. We had a sandbar that we would party on.
See, This was South Georgia. So, but yes, we're talking about the same thing here. But you're right. The water is not, you can't see through it. Like you could be standing on the sandbar, but you won't see past where your feet or leg goes into the water because it's sandy and gross and murky and yucky. So it's the same concept when you're talking about, even though it's the ocean, it's not clear, blue, beautiful, water there. So
that's right. They're going into the evening. They're going to have their first meal on the raft. And it was, they only had like a barrel of flour that had fallen into the water. And now it's all sticky and gross.
Well, I was going to say.
Yeah.
So mark that off.
I don't know why they had a tiny, tiny bit of wine and like 2 things of water. That was it. And this very first meal, it's quoted as Savigny, who wrote the narrative about this. He says, quote, "It's the best meal we had on the raft," unquote. So there's that. They this is the same night they decide, well, we're going to have to make this hammocky sail work somehow. So they get this thing up because
I'm sorry.
The very first night, guess what rolls in?
Guess what rolls in? A storm.
Of course. And it's massive. It's massive. This part of This part of the ocean off the west coast of Africa has tremendous cross currents.
Yeah.
It is one of the places where hurricanes start.
Right. It's treacherous waters.
It is well known for having very intense storms.
Is the air just sitting around? They're like, this day is shit. What do you want to do? Why don't we turn ourselves into a hurricane and fuck some people up? Like, in a long time. Okay.
It is so bad that there are huge monster waves. And you can imagine, you know what? The nice thing about this raft was that it's not going to overturn because it's flat.
Well, even if it would overturn, it would just be itself again.
Right, exactly. Sometimes it would stand on end.
Well, look, it's the other side of the same raft, so
just flip it over so you'd have a fresh new spot.
Exactly. This side is less bumpy.
I mean, it's just you moved into a new apartment there. You just moved to a whole new space here.
The cool side of the pillow.
With the guys going, look, nail side, run the nail side.
So this is where they first start to lose people on the raft. This is it's not funny, but it is.
This is no laughing matter now.
It is not a laughing matter. People are hanging on to like the ropes that are like dangling off of there because it was so dangerous to be on the raft.
I told you the ropes would be handy.
He says, "See, I told you. I did them a huge favor by cutting the rope."
Yeah, people are actually drowning right there on the raft because their feet are getting stuck in the timbers that are going together and coming apart.
This is terrible.
It's horrible. They're getting their legs broken and their feet broken because nobody can see anything. It's pitch dark. It's all you know is that there's rain coming down. There's a bunch of garbage. They can't steer anything. You have no idea when a wave is going to hit you. People are being violently flung from one end of the raft to the other, running into each other, breaking each other's bones. That somebody says,
"My bones!
My bones! My bones!"
Somebody says, "Oh shit, I see a light out there." And they're like, "Quick, gather up all the gunpowder that we have and fire it off immediately." And of course, nobody comes. You know, they fire off almost all the gunpowder that they have. On the first night, nobody came.
Yeah, you know why? Because it was probably a boat coming to rescue them, but they sank it.
Fire the hole.
They happened to hurl somebody's broken leg, and it poked right through the captain of the other ship.
They just packed that full of like body parts, and then it
exactly.
and all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, that light disappeared. What happened there?"
Well, if you're wondering what happened to the other boats, they all just anchored down and just weathered out the storm. They were all fine. Everybody lived on that boat. But the next day, I believe like 20 people died that night on the raft. So now we're down to like 120 people left on the raft. Do you know that Picard and his family of like 8 women, he was the feisty lawyer guy. He was supposed to get on the Pinnace, which is like the third. Did I say that right? Pinnace? Boat.
It's not penis, so
it's all the penis boat.
You can all ride it. Come on,
everybody on the penis. Let's go.
Plenty of room.
Very progressive French culture. Everything goes. Well, he's going to. They left without him, so he found a gun, and he was like, "Hey, 20-foot shit ass y'all, like the worst boat of the bunch." He's just like, "Let me and my family on, or I'll kill every motherfucking one of you." And they were like, "Oh, hop in." So he's on that boat, and that boat's a mess though because they're having to drain everything out of that. You remember this guy Espio who had the 80 people on his boat?
Right.
They find land, and people on that boat was like, "Get me off here. I'm taking my chances in the desert." He's like, "You got it." 63 people get off the boat. He comes back for the people on the 20-foot yawl, and he picks people up and puts them in the boat and saves every last one of the people on the yawl who was so damaged. Oh, he's great. All he was trying to do was just help people. That the governor and the captain were just like, "Oh no, fuck people. They're they're fine. They knew what this was. So,
they had a rope, but that's all that they needed.
That's right. So all you need is this rope.
As the governor, they were all. I was in charge of them, so technically the lawyer was just doing what I meant for him to do. So I get all the credit.
I wonder too if he was just like, all the engineers go on the raft. If anybody can handle it, it'd be a bunch of engineers.
This is true. Yes, this was strategery at its best right here. Okay.
If the raft sinks, it's your own fault for being a bad engineer. Yeah. So, but yeah, by noon, like everybody's thirsty. They're sucking on musket balls and pieces of leather to help with the thirst. I'm like, what? I mean, it must have been pretty bad. They're just trying to put anything into their mouth.
Wait, too many things could be said right now. But when I hear a musket ball, do you mean to tell me that they were just putting parts of a gun in there, like a musket, right, as a gun? Am I wrong about this?
Oh no, yeah, no, you're right. But did you? I forgot to even mention that. So I think I took this out of the notes. But after the first night, 3 people committed suicide on the raft.
Oh gosh.
So they were just like, goodbye, friends. Goodbye, crew.
Yeah, because one of them was
because they don't want to be sucking on musket balls later on.
Right.
Jeez Louise.
But I thought maybe sucking on musket balls was some sort of fancy way of saying they like shot themselves, but no.
No, sucking on, no, actually, you're both, it's a lot. You know how there's like things like the Dirty Sanchez and like eggs, Daniel Thomas style and everything like that.
Bicycle ride?
Well, in old time...
Rusty trombone.
In old time France, sucking on a musket ball.
No.
Fine. If you guys don't want to, if nobody wants to fucking learn anything in this podcast, that's fine. Everyone just stay stupid. The people that committed suicide actually did so because they felt bad, because they were like, oh, it's too crowded in this raft. Let's
self-sacrifice.
Convince
they were
the
sacrificed
that there's more room if they put their heads between the logs. So the people that just died. They all died because they stuck their heads between the logs, and the people that made them do it felt shitty about it and killed themselves.
Shouldn't be laughed at, but
that is the weirdest thing to just be like, well, guys, it's been great knowing you, like shaking people's hands, like, yep, nice to see you, tip my hat to you, y'all, good luck to you motherfuckers, I'm going to heaven. And just,
does anybody want my compass? No.
Yeah, I'm taking this with me. So that's what happened on the raft on like the second day. The next night that happens, an even worse storm happens than the night before, and they see it rolling in. So they're like, fuck. And somehow there's desert coming in, and sand is being blown all over the raft. So can you believe that they're so far out from shore, but the sand from the desert, because the storm is so bad, the sand from the desert is like blowing into them. So they don't even have like a cool breeze. It's like raining sand on them.
Well, that's miserable.
In the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night.
Hey!
I go walking in my sleep.
Yeah.
No.
But I was on a raft and the water was deep. So now I'm dead. And I made more room for the other Frenchmen to sail to their doom. Hey, come to my corner of the raft. Anybody want to suck on a musket ball?
Hey!
Okay.
They describe the waves this next night as mountainous. They see this storm rolling in, and there's desert sand blowing around. So it's not even like a cool rain. It's like a sandy, gritty rain.
Oh my gosh.
And they're so far out to sea. It's just like, what the fuck? I never even thought that would be a thing that would happen. But it is. And again, it's dark as pitch. You can't see your hand in front of your face. Somehow, chaos is ensuing. Everybody on the raft gets fucking insane. The guys are like hallucinating because they're dehydrated, they're hungry, they're just helpless feeling. One dude's like, I'm gonna go for help, BRB, and just walks off the raft and leaves.
It's like the rules of a horror movie. Don't say I'll be right back. I believe this goes into effect for a ship
Right.
this type of situation as well. Don't say I'll be right back. Fall off into the abyss.
I know, just like walk away and just like, what? Okay, but
hey, has anybody seen Roger?
Has anybody seen Julian? People are like slipping between the timbers and then they're drowning like under the raft. So because they can't get out from under the raft, and then so.
Ha! Now the fat guys are in charge. Sorry, Skinny Pete, you fell right through.
Should have eaten more musket balls.
That's right.
So somehow, almost in all of this madness, like a group of soldiers and sailors decide they're going to mutiny. This is during the mountainous waves and these white breakers and this massive storm going on. I can't even imagine how they would get together and be like, all right, guys, now's our chance. Let's mutiny. This is a perfect time. It's what? How could you even hear yourself talk?
I don't know. I would say that this would probably be the perfect time. If you were going to do it, now's the time to do it. Because you're just,
I guess.
Like, if everybody was just sitting there going, I don't know what the fuck to do. Who did they mutiny against?
They're thinking that the officers are, because when they were on the ship, all they saw was officers giving stupid commands. So
they were pissed.
So they know that there are some officers here. So it's basically like enlisted versus officers kind of thing, And so the officers and the civilians kind of teamed up together, and then the soldiers and the sailors kind of teamed up together. And the soldiers and the sailors are going to take over the ship, tear the thing apart, and drown everybody.
Sounds like a great idea.
Why?
Let's get those bougie fucks, said the proletarian in the raft.
It's like this whole, you know what? We don't have a guillotine, but you know what we could do? We could kill ourselves. We could take everybody with us. Let's do it. What a plan.
Yeah.
We're on a barge for Madame Defarge. Oh, wow. That was such a deep dig, and I bet people will think that I thought of it way ahead of time, but no, I just thought of it now.
That is the genius of Acadia right there, people.
That's why it's Wednesday Flatstein, folks. So the mutineers are throwing things into the sea like water and other provisions. So they already didn't have a lot of shit already. Now they have almost nothing.
Take this, stupid. No more water. Your frying pan gone. Your bag full of heavy gym equipment out of the rack.
I was going to use
that.
No more kettlebells for you.
I know how much you like this Bowflex. Off it goes.
So we're almost to day 3 now, right? They have
only day
How many
3.
more days of this
Only
is
day 3.
They have 1 barrel of wine left for I don't know. I think they had 60 people left after this night because it got super stabby and people were killing each other, throwing each other overboard. And, of course, the storm, that did a lot of damage. And people just woke up and they're like, fuck, where is everybody? Look at all these dead people stuck between the rafters on the ship.
Oh.
They get up in the morning and it's 60 people left out of the original 147 after 3 fucking days in the middle of the West African Ocean. So the next day they decide
sounds like one hell of a rave they had the night before.
God, nuts. They have to roll the corpses off the side of the raft now because some of them are kind of stuck between the timbers, but they kept one. Yeah, they did keep one.
Wonder why.
Yeah. So, and this is day 3, mind you. Well, what's going on this day? Okay, so there's sharks surrounding the boat because they're eating the corpses.
I was about to say, hello.
Yeah, and of course the guys are like, let's catch one. And that didn't work out. They couldn't do it.
They're eating the dead people.
They're eating the dead people.
Super quick.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's good. Because we never talked about rabbit starvation on this show, right?
No.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So allow me to elucidate for a moment.
Oh, yes. Tell this.
Fair
I love
listeners.
this.
If you go to Strangeful Things and listen to the cannibalism episodes, you will find out that if somebody tells you to eat a dick, you will find out it's a lot harder to do than you think. But also,
I'm sorry.
There's a thing called
Speak for
rabbit
yourself.
starvation, and it means that no, you listen. It's
Depends on the size of that.
If it's a figure of speech, fine, but in the literal sense, not an easy task. Anyways, what usually goes wrong when people resort to cannibalism is they wait because being a cannibal is horrible, and they start eating people after they've already lost most of their body fat. So all they're eating is the lean muscle, which is not giving them the energy that they need, which means that they go into this downward spiral where they feel like they ate, but they're still hungry because they're not getting anything. And it's called rabbit starvation because if you just only have rabbits to eat, they're so lean in general that you don't get the fat that you need. So actually, the people on the raft were smart. Eat those fuckers right from the jump while they still got some fat on them. And raw is probably not the best, but the only dumb thing they haven't done yet is set a fire in the middle of the raft. Maybe they'll do that on day 37. By the way, this show will be going on for a year because
hold up, because guess what happens? Wait up, there's
speaking of,
that actually does happen. No, they do keep one. They do start eating it. They start ripping off bits of flesh, and they're like, "Oh my god, I feel so much better." And of course, the people who are like, "God, gross! I can't believe you're doing that," are like, "Okay, let me try that." So
not so gross now, yeah.
And they actually feel better. And this time, now the wind is calmed down. The seas are calm. It's glass. It's a nice night. Now they're like super, super aware of like all of their wounds. So they have these horrible sunburns. They're standing in salt water. They have, abrasions, and salt water and wounds does not feel good. They're still hungry and thirsty. They don't have any water. And everybody's like crying out in pain. So nobody's sleeping. Nobody can lay or sit anywhere this whole time because they're like, whatever, thigh deep in water at this point, So the next day they wake up, a fucking 12 more men died during the night. So they roll the bodies off except for one. They hang on to this one and they decide they're going to make a fireplace. So it's a super hot day. Oh my God.
You know what would look really good on this newly overturned raft? A nice hearth. Am I right, people? Am I right?
Oh. It's so cold out. It's going to be so nice to gather around it because
a nice a gathering spot. Yes, for socials. Yeah,
then telling ghost stories.
Oh my! Just reminiscing on what we did 2 days ago.
They end up catching a bunch of fish that had swam under the raft, so they were kind of scooping them up with their hands and putting them in a barrel, and so they make this little fire in a barrel because they found some extra gunpowder, so they're going to waste that. And they actually caught some fish, mixed it with the human meat because they rolled the old corpse off and kept the new one from the night before. There's never a shortage of corpses.
You know what sounds good right now? I know you've heard of bacon-wrapped asparagus. How about flesh-wrapped fish? Am I right, people? Am I right?
That's right.
It's going to be the last hot meal that they eat.
Nope. It'll be the second to the last because with the first guy that barfs it up and somebody eats the barf, that will also be hot.
Oh, no. My ears. My tummy.
I know. I don't have any unsea juice for that mental image, but
I'm just going to keep eating the compass. I'm fine.
Oh, I found the compass again. Nice pate.
This musket ball is delicious. Thanks. I'm good.
Yes, it is.
So, what's going to happen next? Will Governor Schmaltz drown in his boat? Will Captain de Chameret get his comeuppance? Will survivors of the raft continue to consume human flesh to feed their bloodlust? Nope. None of these things are going to happen, but come back again next week and find out what does happen for the third and final installment of the Shipwreck of the French Frigate Medusa. Thank you for listening. We love you. Goodbye.
Hey nerd, do you like Dungeons & Dragons? Of course you do.
Do you like people with New Zealand accents?
course you do again. Wake up, bucko. It's the fate of Ison.
We roll dice, laugh a lot, and tell a surprisingly compelling tale about a plucky group of weirdos.
Hey, who are you calling a weirdo?
Who gets swept up in a quest to quote-unquote save the world of Ison.
There's action, excitement, and there's a lot of apples. Seriously, there's way too many apples. It got way out of proportion.
Weird as my mother's top lip.
On the Necropodicon Network.
See you there.
That'll do.